Greetings and welcome to the Old Patrol HQ podcast. I'm your host, Gil Maza. Today, we continue our conversation with Deputy Patrol Agent in Charge and author J.J. Carrell, Class 339, retired out of the NEWTON-AZRAK station at San Diego Sector, to talk about his new book, Invaded, The Intentional Destruction of the American Immigration System. He doesn't mince words or pull punches as he lays out the facts by the numbers and is upsetting all the right people and saying what the agents and officers on the southern border need him to say, for them and for the safety and security of our country. Come take a listen. Good morning, JJ, and welcome to the Old Patrol HQ podcast again.
Thanks for having me, Gil. I appreciate it. I think this is the number one topic facing America and the greatest threat to our republic. So thanks for allowing me on today.
Great. You know what? According to Democrats, only 17% of Democrats right now think there's an actual crisis on the border, and that's down from last year. So somehow for their side, this is all getting better. And for the rest of us that see it firsthand, that have been watching it for the last 915 days of this administration, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So outline to us, for the nosebleed section, the problem on the border as you see it.
Well, I think there's several issues that we have to tackle. Why the Democrats, or for that matter, very uninformed American citizenry, which I believe that is a major problem in our country across all issues. So first, we have the narrative from the media, mainstream media, has normalized the chaos. And what I mean by that is now there is an expectation, if you will, that we're going to average 250,000 people a month crossing the border. I'll give you an example. Last month in June, the numbers came out that DHS allowed 145,000 people to cross the border, and they're all backslapping each other, saying, "What an incredible job! Look at the policies are working. Biden is on top of the game." That's still 5,000 a month, right? But it's been normalized to expect 7, 8, 9, 10 back in May, 10,000 a day.
A day.
So now we're at 5,000. Now, you and I have discussed this before. I don't believe that number is correct, and I know it's not. In fact, you and I text each other back earlier in this week, last week, and I said, I can't believe I see these numbers, 145, 144,000. They're hiding something. Like in the summer months is not the months where it drops off, right? And it's been normalized, and they've hid. So you have in the June numbers, you have 98,000, 99,000 border arrests, right? I hate how they label them. They call them encounters.
Yes.
Encounters, some of you bump into a friend on the street and get coffee. That's an encounter, right? So then they say, well, yeah, we have 99,000 arrests on the border this month, and we have 45,000 encounters at the port of entries where they did the CBP-1 app, okay? So about 50,000. So I've been digging, saying, okay, 50,000, that's a big drop off, right? In 1 month, and there's nothing that we're doing that would to decrease that number.
Yes.
So sure enough, I was able to find it, fair.us.org and CIS.org, two great reputable immigration websites that have been around for decades. Now they found it. They've done their due diligence, and guess where our government is now funneling these people? At the airport. Okay, so let me just give you a number. So in June 2023, last month, there was over 50,000 inadmissible aliens that landed at ports of entry, meaning the airports, international airports across America. How different is that? In June 2021, that's 3 times the amount. They only had 16,000 in June 2021. Why is this so big? It's big because the federal government, and I just read an article before I came on here, Gil, they're talking about how they are hiding, the federal government is hiding illegal aliens and turning them into quasi-legal, right?
Yes.
So when Mayorkas goes in front of Congress, he goes, no, we just caught 99,000 illegal aliens in June. No, and they go, well, yeah, well, the CBP-1 app and the airport app, Those are paroles. We just paroled them in. That's legal. It's a shell game.
Yes.
So they're hiding in plain sight. And I want everyone to understand the collusion that has to be taking place for 50,000 people to go to international airports. So an individual flies from the Sudan, Germany, Ecuador, wherever, and they get on that inbound flight to the United States. They have to have documentation that allows them to be admissible. Because if they get to America and customs says, no, you're not admissible, they have to get on that plane and fly back. So that airline, now, if they're booked, they got to pay for lodging, housing, everything else to get that individual back to their home nation.
Yep.
So there has to be, Gil, no airline, a private company is going to risk, let's say it's American Airlines, and they brought over 10,000 people, and they got to fly 10,000 people back. So at an international flight, you're looking at about, what, $2,000? So you're going to lose $20,000 in a month, plus all this other stuff, or even more?
Yeah.
No, it's not going to happen. So I believe they had to collude with the federal government. The federal government said, just allow them to come. Somebody had to, the customs officers in those nations, U.S. customs officers had to allow them to get board those planes. They had to, knowing that they were going to get freed. 50,000 ended up in U.S. airports that were inadmissible, and we allowed them to go. That's shocking. That's treasonous. Everything that's happening on the border right now is absolutely against the law. You cannot look what they're doing right now. An article came out, and again, I do not believe the numbers. If you start looking at all reputable sites, even the ones that I quote trust, their numbers are grossly off, like by hundreds of thousands, and it's shocking, right? You're like, where are you getting these numbers? And a lot of times they're quoting politicians, and the politicians, as we know, are grossly ignorant, and they're just told, they're like newscasters. They just get, here's your talking points, sir, and they read them and they just regurgitate them.
Yeah.
But let's just take this at face value. They're saying that the federal government, Biden and Mayorkas, has paroled over 541,000 people into America. You know, immigration parole is a case-by-case basis. It is so rarely used. It's for death of a family, medical emergency, where a doctor here could help somebody that couldn't help them in Switzerland or Mexico.
Yeah.
Or we bring them in as material witness. Now they just bastardized the parole system, which is illegal. And no one says anything, right? The politicians, remember, Gil, the politicians in 2022 ran on the promise they're going to impeach Mayorkas. There's no impeachment going to happen.
Why? Why do you think they can't seem to get around to impeaching him?
Because I believe that it's a uni-party. And when it comes to immigration, when you look back, Gil, you and I served about the same time. Our times overlap. I served under Bill Clinton, Bush, Obama, and then Trump, and then obviously Biden. Republicans are absolutely in bed with all this. Think of this. Trump, to answer your question, the best way I can answer it is Trump had the presidency, the House, and the Senate. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan stonewalled him and wouldn't give him money to build the border wall. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We had enough to pass all the laws and to institute E-Verify, to tighten up all the loopholes in our immigration system, and they did nothing. Why? Why, when every poll in America for decades, since I started in 97, all the way to present day, the vast majority of Americans want illegal immigration shut down, not like stopped or paused, like shut down. In fact, the majority of voters also want legal immigrants, the number of legal immigrants, to decrease as well. But the government ignores it.
Yeah.
It's a winner, right? If all the public wants it, every poll shows it, and you don't do it, well, I believe that it's the accusation and the evidence is all right there in front of you. They're all in bed together. Think of this. We've spent, some people believe the numbers are anywhere from $2 to $3 trillion in Afghanistan and Iraq. trillion. Try to wrap your brain around that. In Ukraine, we're already about $150 billion in aid, food, weapons, barriers, etc.
Yeah.
But Trump had to go into the defense budget and pull out $5 billion, where we're talking trillions and billions, hundreds of billions for foreign people, foreign countries and people, and they give us nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, but look what we're up against here. Okay, so you got an administration, right, that everybody's working towards normalizing, like you said, this illegal immigration flood chaos. You have DHS and CBP officials that stand up there, right? At one time, they were probably field agents somewhere. They were either in OFO or CBP or Border Patrol. They wear the uniform. Ortiz is seen by many, even in media, as a hero, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing, one of the things he said before he came out, he said that we're accounting for 80% of the gotaways and 20% we don't know. You and I both know that's the other way around. We don't know where 80% of our gotaways or how many they are, and we may be able to account for 20% is what I think is more accurate.
Yeah, the getaways makes my head explode, right? Remember, I don't know if you went back. Remember in the late '90s or early 2000s in San Diego, we shut San Diego kind of down, right? With all the, and then we did I forget what the operation was, where we all went to El Centro in Mexico and worked the Eastern Corridor of California. And I would drive that levee, and I worked day shift at that time, and then you got swapped to midnights or whatever. So my first couple of days on day shift, I would drive that levee, and I'd be like, holy mother of God. I don't know how many. It looked like a herd of elephants came through here.
Yeah.
And it was about 100 yards wide. And it was just, and they would say, well, what's your guess as I call it in? And I'm like, I don't know, 10,000? I mean, honestly, you don't know, right? And so, and my point is the idea that the federal government is claiming since Biden's taken office that they have about 1.7, 1.8 million getaways.
Yeah.
Come on, Gil. Come on.
Yeah.
So you went down there and physically cut out 1.8 million at a herd elephant? Come on. This is insanity to believe that.
Yeah.
When the federal government and our agency openly admits that they lost 1.8 million, can you imagine what the real number is? I believe the real number is closer to 10 million.
Oh yeah,
I do. 8 to 10 million. People scoff at that. They go, "What do you?" I go, "You have hundreds of miles of border that does not have one Border Patrol agent."
Yeah, unmanned, unsecured. Yes,
unmanned, and people cannot wrap their brain around. They think, "Well, that can't be true." And I say, "Okay, well, who are you going to believe? You're going to believe me that's been doing this job forever and has all the contacts around, or are you going to believe the talking head on CNN or MSNBC?" or some spokeshole from CBP? Who are you going to believe? I'm telling you what's happening. And there's reporters.
Straight from the field.
Reporters, yes. And it's I hate being that doom and gloom guy. I really do.
Right.
It's not in my nature. But my God, Gil, when you look at the totality of what is happening, if you're not shaken to the core, I don't believe you're either so grossly ignorant or you're part of the problem. There's no other way around it. When you look at the numbers, we're looking at 20 to 30 million people coming into our nation fraudulently through asylum and parole, getaways, or catch and release by the end of Biden's first term. That's shocking, dude.
Yes, it is shocking. But here's the thing, right? So for this administration, for this DHS, it was never a crisis, right? It was never a crisis till all of a sudden the eve of Title 42 disappearing. And the way they measure that, they've been doing a victory lap ever since the day when Title 42 disappeared, because now we have a 70% decrease in field apprehensions and field encounters, like you said. But even though in the beginning it seemed like the numbers dropped, you and I both know that those numbers got rechanneled to the ports, and now they were funneling most of those numbers through CBP-1, which, like you said, already made it a legal process, right? Now it's a legal process, so they're not called illegals. But ever since then, just recently, I found out from a unimpeachable source that we're back up to 6,000 a day. The other day, there was 14,000 in custody across the sectors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the agents
Yep.
in the field are telling me nothing has changed for us. There's
No.
nobody in the field. Everybody's processing. ATVs are canceled tonight because they had to come in and process.
Mm-hmm.
All the special units are in there. So even though initially it may have even seemed like the numbers dropped, now we're getting back to those high numbers again. And like you said, and that's the part that ever since you said that the first time, the normalization of
Mm-hmm.
this chaos, and even agents are getting desensitized to it, and they're saying, "What's the big deal, Gil? All right, I've heard everything already, and you know what? It's just the normal now."
Yeah, and that's the scary thing is that it's become normal to the agents because, and I tell people this, and Border Patrol has a history and a pride of accomplishing crazy, crazy expectations with no budget,
Yeah.
no resources. We just do it. Where it's almost like, and I'm not saying this in a derogatory way, we're almost like ranch hands out in the Wild West, where you got maybe like a hammer and a pair of gloves, and you just go out there and you just make fences and you corral the cattle. We do everything, right? We make food, we take care of everything. And then we have a unique way, even in the face of incredible adversity, Border Patrol agents have a way to become very efficient
Yes.
in the chaos. And that is what I believe the federal government, DHS, and the CBP, Border Patrol brass like Ortiz, absolutely banked on. Banked on the fact that I could see him telling, hey, just give these guys a week or two. They're going to figure it out and we're going to streamline it. And I watched it. I watched it throughout my career as we went through those valleys and hills and valleys of immigration.
Yes.
But now it's something that we have never experienced. And I try to tell that to agents when I talk to them, is I try to shake them and go, hey, man, this is not normal. Please step away and look at it from a different perspective. I mean, you talk to agents that transfer out of South Texas and go to Washington, state of Washington. They call me and they go, I didn't even realize how insane that was. I'm still decompressing from that. And now that I can look back from the northern border, which is out of control too.
Yes.
But at
record
a different
numbers.
level, right? But I can look down there and I go, what was I doing? How did we get there? And it's the point where you get to this insane place where I'm bringing in 1,000 people and I'm processing and releasing. And in my brain, I'm thinking, okay, you're doing a good job. You're being efficient. No, you're just following unconstitutional orders. And I understand. I'm not bagging on you. I'm just saying, please understand. This is
no.
This is not precedent. This is
by every metric measurable. Okay, just by the numbers alone, and the sectors are really fond of putting out, by the numbers, this is what we're doing. Well, by the numbers, this is unprecedented in the history of America. Never mind the history of the Border Patrol for 100 years. Record entries, apps, releases, paroles, gotaways, record rescues, record deaths, record terrorist entries, record fentanyl smuggling. I mean, they catch a lot of fentanyl, sure, but when you got all those millions of pounds of fentanyl coming in, you're gonna trip over fentanyl. And I'm not diminishing the work of those guys out in the field.
No,
and
but
see,
we
but,
know. Nah.
Yeah, but a lot of the old timers are like, guys, we've had our problems before. We've seen not like this.
Not
like this.
No, it is, and what they have successfully done, and I mean they by Mayorkas and his crowd, and let me just note on this one thing. There's a investigative reporter named Jenny Taer, Taer, from Daily Caller.
She's my buddy.
Oh, is she?
Yes.
She's a good, very, very smart. And she has been doing weekly exposés on individuals in DHS and CBP that are high-level positions. And we're talking, as I write about a lady named Doyle, who's head of policy and law, and and then these 3 other people Jenny's talked about that is over civil rights and liabilities, processes, like high level stuff. And they are full on haters of CBP and ICE. In fact, they have said in tweets and written peer review articles about the need to defund ICE and Border Patrol. They are running our agency. That's what people don't understand. Mayorkas is a traitor, and I'm never going to walk that back. I'm not going to tear out that page in my book that I say he's a traitor. I'm not doing it. He's a traitor. But one man can't implement all the insanity unless he has working lieutenants that are doing it, right? And
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because what is it? What is it? You know, you and I can see from our vantage point that Mayorkas has basically single-handedly facilitated the greatest and most deadliest human smuggling trafficking event, fentanyl event in the history of this country. He has literally brought the immigration system of this country to its knees, JJ.
Yes.
And yet you have agents in uniform with a badge that took an oath that will swear to you this guy is on our side. How is that even possible?
Because I think there's 2 things. I think they ideologically align with them. And I think there is a segment of our population in Border Patrol that believe that. We called them sympathizers when I was growing up. And I think, or they are so hell-bent on promotion, they don't care. They never work the line. They don't understand the type of people that we arrest. So it's all very theoretical to them. And then they rise up the ranks, never having to get their hands dirty, get in a fight, get punched, see their buddies get injured on duty or got injured. So it's very theoretical to them. And it goes back to the normalization. Well, you know, we'll get through this, and you know, we need to create a DARE program for kids, and we need to go read at the schools, and we need to do PR and talk about, you know, camaraderie. No, you need to strip all the sectors down to the bones, and it should be a ghost town, and you should put everyone on the border. And if you were a chief, you should go and say, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it. We're going to process and slow down the process, and then we're going to build a tent city, and we're going to house them. We're just going to we're do whatever. I'm going to be obstructionist to this. But part of the answer, what I like to give to the prior question about, you know, the normalization, and look what's happened to the normalization of the chaos within our own agency, and people don't really understand this because it's they can shelter a lot of the internal angst that the system is feeling. And the way the politicians, if you look at from the history from 1965, where Ted Kennedy co-sponsored a bill for a change of complete demographic change of our immigration process. The way they do this is they destroy the system, the immigration system within. It gets so bogged down, so convoluted, it's broken. And then the very next thing, when that happens, you begin to hear the cries for amnesty. The only way to fix the system is to cleanse the system, wash it of everything in it, and then we'll fine tune it, and then we'll go back. But we never go back and fine tune it, and we never secure the border. We just give amnesty. So that's coming. Let me give you an idea. There's a great article, Florida versus U.S., and it's their second lawsuit. And this was about, if you remember back, you talked about the Title 42. If you remember what Ortiz was trying, he sent a memo out because he got pressure from Mayorkas. We're going to do parole plus alternative to detention. Remember that, where it's going to be quick release.
Yes.
And it comes to find out through their lawsuit that and they were claiming NTAs take an agent 2 to 2.5 hours to complete. Parole plus alternative to detention was 15 to 30 minutes. So there was no records check. There was nothing. Just get out the door.
Yep.
Listen to how the system is so bogged down. So in New York City ICE, which you can imagine that facility must be, I've never been there, but I can only imagine how huge that facility is.
Yeah.
They are booked. They are booked out to 2032.
Yep.
2032.
Yeah.
They're not taking, they're not seeing anybody, Gil. So you have all these, you have 70,000 plus that we know of
You're
in New
right.
York City right now, and they can't see the judge or see an ICE officer for 2032. Do you see the complete and utter absurdity of
It
everything
is.
that's happening?
Yes.
So I think we need to take a very broad look at this problem, because I know we get fixated, not you, but I'm just saying me as an agent, I get fixated between the ports of entry, right?
Right.
Border Patrol, Border Patrol. But when you step back, which I've had a chance to because I'm retired, and look at it, you're like, oh my God, every facet of DHS is corrupted and broken purposely, but it's just been destroyed. There are no holding facilities that are working. You have agents assigned to soft-sided facilities.
Yep.
You have chiefs like Chief Bovino getting pushed out for talking. You have the manipulation of numbers to hide illegal aliens. So the collusion within DHS is so deep and so rooted. How do you change this? I mean, and I've asked you this question before, and I always ask it when I get into a discussion with people about the border, and I say, okay, let's say that we continue. Tell me the number. When is that alien going to come across and he hits that number 20 million? Is that the trigger that
Yeah.
we shut the border down? If not, tell me the number. And no one
No.
can give me a number, Gil. They're not even, no one even asked Mayorkas, hey, are we going for 100 million or what? And that is a very reasonable question to ask from both sides. What number are we going to take? We're creating to 30 million, 20 to 30 million by his fourth year. So it's not 20 million. Is it 30? Is it 40? I mean, when you get into the percentages of our total population are illegal aliens, there is no nation to look back on in the history of mankind and said that was successful.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
No.
They imploded.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Now, when you have, again, our own brass, championing, fighting for, endorsing, guys like Ortiz, again, like it to Fox News, he's a hero, right?
Yeah.
Because he testified before Congress and said that we didn't have operational control, even though there's a video where he walked that back. He was asked again directly.
Yep.
You contradicted Mayorkas saying there's no operational control, and he said, no. I was talking about 100% operational control. We've never had that. Right. So he, while the Republicans were like congratulating each other and, doing mutual circle jerks about everything that Ortiz said, he walked it all back, right, effectively. And we are stuck now with this. And those of us who see it, those of us who understand it, those of us who are trying to wrap our brain around every single aspect of it are scared to death at the direction of this. Like you said, no end in sight, no magic number, nothing. And yet people will still tell me, well, when Mayorkas came to visit back in the, the Ortiz Mayorkas love tour throughout all the sectors, right? He had a notebook and he was writing down everything, and he cared so much, and he understood that we need consequences. Well, he tells you one thing, he tells everybody what they want to hear. But what effectively what he's doing is presiding over the widest open border. And I mean, what are we waiting for, JJ? For another 9/11? Didn't we not learn anything? The border, a secure, I don't know how secure our border was then, but it was a whole lot better than this. And that ended up happening to us, falling through the cracks. Now with this, what are we waiting for?
We're waiting. I believe 100%. If you press me, and I have no problem saying this out loud, and I've said it before, we're seeing the fundamental change, the fundamental transformation of America through the immigration system. And they're utilizing that to to destroy America. And there is, and I always ask this, well, you don't like what I just said and you think it's whatever, then tell me a rational explanation to what is happening. Why?
Yeah.
And nobody can articulate any rational explanation. You talk to agents, say, well, I talked to Mayorkas and he was writing things on his notepad. Who cares?
Yeah.
What is he doing? Look at what he's doing. He's changed asylum. He's changed parole. He's done catch and release. You have no one on the border. You're processing everyone. He has said out loud, we are so proud and excited that we have created the largest expansion of legal immigration. Now, if you have half a brain or understanding of what our republic is and our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and the three branches of government, then you'll understand that what he just said is illegal. The Congress has the right to determine the type and the number of legal immigrants, not the executive branch, which he's an extension of. The executive branch has no authority to change that number, but they are, because our Congress is impotent, ignorant, and complicit in this.
Agreed.
Because they abdicate their role as the check and balance. A real congressman would just stand up with a constitution, a little pamphlet constitution, say, right here, it says you can't do that. It's against the law. I'm suing you. Go to court, shut it down. But what do? What's McCarthy doing? What is McCarthy? Anybody that trusted him was a fool, right? Just same thing with Paul Ryan. They're just snakes. They just lie.
Yeah.
When you look at the totality of what is happening, dude, when you talk about terrorists, like we talked about this before, CBP now, it's like 150 terrorists now that they've arrested. And we have 3 more months of reporting in FY23.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that we're batting 1,000%, meaning every single terrorist that crossed that border, we're on them and we're nabbing them? As an agent, you can't believe that.
No,
even
not at
when
all.
we are, no,
Not
right?
at all.
So
Well,
no.
look, we got a few more minutes left. I consider myself a very angry guy, right? And
Right.
I know, and we sympathize because you're just as angry as I am. But you're more angry because you decided to write a freaking book about it. So tell us about that.
I am angry because I see it clearly, and one day I was sitting down and I was reading all the websites and looking at articles, and I found myself really diving in, because I think what a lot of critical thinkers do is they say, okay, am I getting, because I was retired for 6 months and I refused to read or talk to any of my friends or former colleagues. I would tell them, we can talk about anything you want, but don't talk to me about work. We talk about the people at work, but I want to know about policies, and so I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I found myself immersed back in it, and I pulled myself back and I said, okay, is it as bad as I think from my experience and what I'm reading now? Let me dive in and look at it from a different lens, if you will, maybe from a liberal mindset that, diversity and equity and all that other bull crap. Let's play that game. And the more I read and the more I read and the more I saw, I was like, dear God, you're right. You knew you were right. But it's worse than you even expected, because I started to see the manipulation of DHS from within and from without. And what I found doing interviews with in newspapers, podcasts, and national TV is, and reading these quote experts, they have a very myopic view of what's transpiring on the border. And it's a little thing like, how are they crossing the border? This guy loves to talk about this. This guy loves to talk about ICE and their arrests. And this guy likes to talk about family units. But nobody was talking about everything that was happening in the big picture, right? Nobody was connecting the dots. And they were all wringing their hands like, how is this happening? Why is it happening? So I decided one day, you know what? I'm going to explain to the average person what the hell's going on down there. And that was the genesis of me writing the book, what propelled me to do it. And I just sat down there, and I knew when I wrote it, Was I going to have a little success? Was I going to have huge success? And that's still to be determined, right? So I'm marketing the book and going on podcasts and television shows promoting it. But I knew that I would get jabs from people that would say this is too controversial, because I know how I speak and I write the same way I speak. I'm very direct. I don't have time. I believe a fault of American, especially American males, is we have become extremely soft. We don't speak the truth because we're fear of offending someone and or being called vile names, racist, whatever,
Right.
misogyny, all the stuff that I don't care about. I've been called a million times. So I decided when I write this book, I'm going to just write it as I speak. I'm not going to soft pedal. This is exactly what's happening. And I challenge people that when they read it, challenge the left. If you don't like it, then have me on and let's talk about what you don't like, what you think I'm lying about, and then let's have a robust discussion on it. And you don't like the way I have a chapter straight on Mayorkas, because I don't think the vast majority of Americans, even in law enforcement, in DHS, understand who this man is, where he came from. And when you start digging in to where this guy didn't pop up on the scene, he's been on the scene for over a decade and a half.
Yeah.
And he's had his fingers in everything. He created DACA. People don't know that he created DACA, implemented it. He has a big hand on prosecutorial discretion under President Obama.
Yep.
So everything you're seeing him implement now, he learned and perfected back in Obama's terms. So that's why I wrote the book. It's called Invaded, the Intentional Destruction of the American Immigration System. And the title says it all.
Yeah.
And I weave in stories about my time as a trainee, a supervisor in Imperial Beach, and then my time running Coastal Border Enforcement Team in San Clemente, and ended my career in Marietta as a Deputy Patrol Agent in Charge, which gave me a different kind of perspective of what was transpiring from a higher level, and listening, even though I'd been in those meetings, but just to be there and to hear it and go, okay, why would you okay this? Why would you make a decision to do this? And it's frustrating, because after I write this book, and you and I are talking today, and I have 4 or 5 different media outlets to talk to today.
Yes.
I don't see an end to this, Gil. And that's the most frustrating, and what drives me to be maybe come off as angry or more assertive, is because I see a incredible need to stop it, like now.
Yeah.
Like you and I are speaking right now, there's hundreds of people crossing the border we don't even know of, and there's hundreds more behind them, and this is going on every second of every day.
Yes.
To the tunes of thousands a day, right? And that should scare you. And for whatever reason, it's not scaring America yet. But may God, please God, let me be wrong. But I believe there will be a day in the very, very near future where we're going to be shaken to our core as a nation again.
Yeah. It seems like they take it's like they don't take it seriously. It's almost like a game, like a joke. I was just talking to some ICE agents from New York, and they're picking up all these MS-13 gang members that have committed crimes in New York, because they were let in at the border either undetected or unprocessed or they unvetted. They didn't check them, and they came in as juveniles.
Yep.
Right. And that's across the country, not just there. And so now we're dealing on the back end. Never mind what it's doing to the infrastructure. Never mind what it's doing to every aspect of our culture and community. Right. They're wearing out our medical. They're wearing out our education. They're wearing out all these things. Because and I was just looking at another tweet from Mayorka's wife saying that it's therefore the good of all, for the betterment of all, right?
Well, how's it good for America?
Yeah.
And I always ask just a simple question. Tell me and they begin with the diversity. I go, okay, stop.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want buzzwords. I want you to tell me how this is good for America. You're driving down wages. Look, I always tell people, illegal immigration is a giant octopus that has mutant tentacles. Like I have 100 of them, and it permeates every facet of America's life. Look at New York. You just mentioned New York City. Mayor Adams now has given a 60-day warning to single adult males that you have 60 days to find housing to get out of shelters, and they're attaching social workers to these illegal aliens.
Yeah.
What if 50% of the shelters in New York City are filled with illegal aliens?
Yes.
They were once at 100% capacity. So what happened to the 50% that were Americans that are not there now?
That are homeless.
They're on
yes.
the street.
They
They're
are
homeless.
on. Yes.
They're on the street.
They were kicking
And
them out.
Yes, and you're going to take your look. They don't have social services like any other social worker. They're in the deficit. They don't have like 1 million social workers. So you're taking a finite resource of social workers and giving it to illegal aliens when your own brothers and sisters are suffering and they need your help. And know what we do? We just thumb our nose at them. Piss off. Go deal with it. And from a moral perspective, I believe when you are immoral as a nation or a group of individuals, or even as a man, you can call it karma, you can call it, I call it retribution and punishment from God. We are going to be punished for this. We are looking at our brothers and sisters and just pound sand, and we're spending billions with a B on foreigners. What could we have done with billions of dollars to help more homeless or help veterans or whatever it is?
Yeah.
And there could be a discussion on what's the best way to help those people. But one of the best ways to help those people is not give money to help foreigners that are supposed to go into them. I mean, it's grotesque.
Yes.
But Gil, I do not see an end to this. I don't. And that's the scary thing. And that's the most frustrating thing. And that's why it manifests itself into an anger, because you cannot believe that this is actually transpiring in America.
No, and that's just it. When is America going to get angry enough, right? When are they going to get, instead of going party lines? Because Derek Malt said it best in the last congressional hearing. He said, this isn't a red thing. This isn't a blue thing. It's a red, white, and blue thing. It affects all Americans all at once, and I'm going to give you in our final couple of minutes, just anything you want to say before we close out this podcast and plan for the next one.
Oh, sadly, the thing that is going to help the closing this border, whenever that may be, is going to be the movie Sound of Freedom. That has been the catalyst for a deeper discussion on open borders. Sadly, that is the truth. And Tim Ballard, I saw an interview last night where he again used the same terms that you and I use, and he said the federal government, Biden administration, is facilitating this open borders disaster, and thus the child sexual trafficking. And he threw out a statistic that I've been trying to find. He said out of those 85,000 that they lost, the HHS lost, which we believe is now over hundreds of thousands, thousands of those children were 5 years and younger.
Yeah.
5 years and younger in the prime age to start trafficking these kids. And they have no idea who they gave the sponsors to.
We weren't allowed to verify that.
No, we're not. And then the last thing I'd like to tell you is what did DHS just do last week is they did not renew the contract with a third party for DNA testing. So they're doing zero DNA testing. We're just releasing children into the wild to be sexually trafficked and labor trafficked. And again, this is going to be a moral stain on America, and we are not going to just be able to wash our hands of it. At least you and I and the people like us can say we tried. We are screaming at the top of our lungs, and showing and writing books and doing podcasts to say this is what is happening, and it's a sad time to do this. And I hope that you and I can continue a series of these discussions, because
we will.
I think it's important at least to have it down, to say no. we were on to you from day one.
Yes.
We've been following this, and we've been documenting. We've been screaming, "Where have you been? Why are you so willfully ignorant? Why are you so complicit in the destruction of America?" And again, if you and I believe that, or Americans believe that we need more people because of Social Security or workforce, whatever that is, then our representatives in our republic goes to Congress and creates a bill that changes the legal number from 1.2 million to 10 to 20 to 30, whatever that is every year. But don't come to me and say, we need more people, but you're not going to change the law, and I'm a racist and a Nazi for enforcing the laws that you did. It's chaotic. The system's overwhelmed. It's on purpose. Don't believe that it's overwhelmed, but it is strategically created that way.
Yes.
And my last thing to say is, if you underestimate Mayorkas and think that he's a fool, and you're the fool.
Yes.
He is a highly, highly intelligent man that has a resume that is unbelievable. He was one of the youngest U.S. attorneys in the history of America. Okay, as an immigrant, he rose up to the ranks, became the USCIS director, second in charge of DHS, and now is in charge. That man is incredibly intelligent, strategic. He plans, he implements, and he has an incredible way of hiding and shell gaming.
Yes.
And I think that he is a master chess player playing checkers with the Republican politicians. I really do.
Yeah.
He just laughs at them.
Yeah.
Think of when you would go in front of Congress and people were telling you that you're Benedict Arnold and a traitor. And know what he does? He just goes, "Yeah, I find that offensive. All right, see you later."
Yes.
And then he just keeps doing. And he does whatever he wants.
Yes.
Right? It's hey, dude, I'm going to give you props if you're like we had smugglers. We are like, that smuggler keeps killing us. He's wearing the same damn boots. He wears the same clothes, but that guy's killing us. As much as I wanted to decapitate him when he crossed the border, I had to sit there and at least give my enemy props and say, that guy is damn good at what he does.
Yeah,
and he is. But he's damn good.
Yeah.
Same thing with Mayorkas. I look at him and I go, bro, you're the king.
Yes.
You run it. You own it. You're going to have to be accountable one day, but not for a long, long time. You're the winner now. You're winning.
Well, JJ, when we post this podcast, I'll make sure I post the links. Everybody can get your book, right, Invaded, at Amazon.com and probably other places as well. But we'll make sure we'll keep getting the word out. We'll keep getting sharing this so that this book needs to be in the hands of every single person we possibly get it into.
Okay, I appreciate that. You can go to Amazon.com and look at the reviews as well, and from agents and quote civilians, and give you kind of idea what it's about. So I appreciate this, Bill. Look forward to the next time.
All right. Thank you, JJ. Have a good one.
All right, brother. You have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Old Patrol HQ podcast. You can find JJ Carroll's book on Amazon, Invaded, The Intentional Destruction of America's Immigration System. For more, follow me at Old Patrol HQ on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and visit my website at oldpatrolhq.bigcartel.com. Share this everywhere you can. Thank you so much. Honor first, or no honor at all.